This conference will now be recorded.
Hi Ranjit.
Hi, Uvi.
We will start a session now. I hope my voice is audible and I'm sharing my screen now and you can confirm me whether my screen is also visible to you.
Yes, it's visible. Is there anyone else joining the this training?
Yeah, there are few students enrolled. They didn't join. Actually, it's 9:03, right? So I started the recording. Let them join. Okay.
Sure.
Some other
Okay.
students are supposed to join along with you. That's why I sent
Sure.
the message in the group. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So today we are going to see the very basic thing which is called variables. So I'm not getting into the theoretical explanation of what is variable and all because this is the concept. It is used in almost all the programming languages. If you are thorough with this concept, you can use it anywhere. More or less, the syntax also in major programming languages are same. So very first thing is we all know. When you want to do some development or any activity, it's all dealing with the data. Whatever we say, whatever the app I'm developing, it can be a online shopping app or it can be any ticket booking systems or whatever we are doing. End of the day, you are going to deal with some data only. Data are nothing but some informations. So that data, how we are going to handle, it's the one we are going to see it in this variable. So for this, what I'm going to do here is, let's take an example of a online shopping app itself. In online shopping app, you are planning to buy a shoe. So in that shoe, there are something related to the shoe. It can be the color of the shoe, it can be the size of the shoe, or it can be the brand of the shoe which you want.
Your voice is not audible. Am I the only one who can't listen to the voice? Hello. Uvi, your voice is not audible.
As I told you before, everything is zeros and ones. When I want to add some data to the machine, so when I want to add some information or give some comments to the machine, how I will do? I will pass some instructions. Hey, select a product called shoe. Hey, select a product called shoe with the color of black. Hey, select a product called shoe in black color and the size is So some information I will give as a comment to the system, the machine ultimately, and the machine will get me some data back. So this is a format we used to do. So for me, it's a shoe, and that information about the shoe will be saved somewhere. So it is a memory is nothing but, for your understanding, I'm putting something as some racks kind of things, but in real world this is not the one, but here for your understanding I put. So some stacked racks are there. Here only I'm going to add all the products. Today I may be selecting shoe, tomorrow I may be selecting a shirt or a bag or something. So
Hello, UV. Yeah, we are not able to
You,
hear anything.
yes, yeah.
sorry, what is Srinivas?
Yeah, we are not able to hear your voice. Actually, it was breaking and it was silent for some time.
Is it audible now?
Now it is fine. Yeah.
Okay. What was the last thing you have heard properly? I'll repeat again.
Yeah, like you were saying something shoe and all shoe, some color, something.
Okay, okay. I'll
Yeah,
repeat it.
maybe it would be good if you start from the beginning. Yeah.
Sure, sure. I'll do it.
Okay.
No
Thank you.
issues. So what I was telling there is it is more about the variables. So variables is a basic, very basic thing in any programming language. So I was explaining about the variables handling, where the variables come into picture, why I need a variable. For that, I was explaining about the memory arrangement, like how these datas are all arranged in memory. So as I told you before, everything is data. Whatever activity we are doing, even I'm talking to you, right, this itself is a data, because what I am talking is a data for you, what question you are asking is a data for me. So everything is a data transfer in the IT world. So how you are handling the data, how you are using the data to do some activities, and how we are getting the final result, this is the main function of any programming. So for us it's something like I'm typing something on the screen, I'm getting some data. So even in the online shopping app, opening the URL and I'm typing my product is shoe. Once I type the product as shoe, I'm getting the list of shoes. Then I'm adding some filters like size, brand, color, style. So some filters I'm doing and I'm getting the filtered data. Previously it was showing like 200 products to me, later on it's showing just 10 or 20 products to me. So this is the data for a developer, but for the user, he is clicking some buttons or some tabs in the screen and is getting some result in the screen itself. But in the background, though we are saying data, right, the datas are all zeros and ones for the machine. For me, it is like the size of the shoe, 9, 10, 11. So some numbers I'm getting. But in the background, for the machine, it's all some binaries, and the binaries are saved in a memory. So for a discussion purpose alone, I have made the memory arrangement like this, but in the real time, This is not the exact memory arrangement of any data. For a discussion, I have made something like this. Okay, so if you look at this, first I'm deciding that I want a shoe size of 10. So when I select the data, it is going, for example, it is saved in a memory address of 1000, that is memory address of 1000. Later on, I decide that I want to select a shoe size of 9. In that cases, it is saving in some other memory address. For example, just for discussion I'm taking, so that memory management I'll cover later. There I will say whether it will use the same memory or different memory. It will be covered separately. For a discussion, I'm taking one simple example like this. Say for example, two different memory things are there. If I want to pull the shoe size data, so how I'll pull? It's like machine, it is somewhere, it is rack. You can take the example of your libraries also. So you want some book, Java book. So what your librarian will tell? Go to the rack number 2, row number 1, you can see that particular book. You will go to that particular place and you will pick that and you will come. Likewise, in the memory also, all the data are saved in some memory address. Similarly, like the book arrangement in a shelf. So to pull the data from the shelf, the book, what you will do? You will get the help from the librarian. If you tell the name of the book, you will check in the computer, because it's a database he has, right? It can be Excel sheet or any other app you use. You will feed it and you will say, oh, this book you are expecting, then this book in this particular rack, particular row and particular shelf. You will tell, you will go directly there, you will take the book. But in the computer memory, you cannot register all this memory. Okay, the memory addresses like 1001, 1002, you cannot register everything in your mind. So if you want to pull shoe size, you should not tell it, okay, you cannot write a code like, hey, pull the data from 1001. You cannot write a code like that. Similarly, if you want to get the data of a shirt size, then you should not remember like, oh, shirt size, then it's a memory address of 5001. That is not possible in the practical world. In that case only the variables come into picture. What this variable will do is, it will represent the memory address. So for machine, it is like the memory address 1001, 1002, 1003, something like that. But when you do a coding, you will be using the variables. So when I use a variable call like this, when I define a variables like this, byte shoe size equal to 9 means the shoe size will be assigned to a memory address. Shoe size is a variable that is pointed to some memory address. Going forward, if I want to pull the size of the shoe, then I will use this memory, that variable only, instead of calling the memory address. Similarly, I have one more variable called new shoe size. In that case, a new memory address is there and new number is there. So if I want to pull that new number, I have to use a new variable instead of calling the memory address. So here I should not go and remember 1001 or 5001 or 10001. Memory address can be anything. We don't know what is a memory address. For a developer, the most easiest way is to use some variables to handle your data. So likewise, we will do that. Shoe size is my variable name, and that I will use to handle the data. And before that, you can see something called byte, int and all. These are the type of the data which I am going to handle. If I am planning to handle a integer, so the first thing that I've listed everything here. These are the datas, these are the types available for us to handle the integer numbers, or I would say that if you are planning to handle any number kind of data, like I told, right? If you in shoes, there are different data as I told. It can be your, just I will unshare this and I will share my Eclipse. Sorry, IntelliJ I will share for you today. I'll use the same example of last class, like I created some anatomy, right? So here I can have different datas for a shoe. It can be the shoe size, it can be the shoe color, it can be the shoe brand, so anything. So these are the data about the shoe, the product which I'm planning to buy, the shirt or whatever product I'm planning to buy. There are some data related to the particular product. So here the size can be anything, 9, 10, 11 something, and the color can be anything, black or brown, and the brand can be any brand. Okay, so here very simple thing. In front of this, I have to declare my type of the variable. I know this is a variable called shoe size and the size is 10, but I have to define the type of the data this variable is holding. So the type of the data is, you can put, it's a number, right? So number can be a byte, the number can be a short, int, long, float, double. So these are the different types of data I can handle a number. Again, if you are planning to handle a decimal number, then you have to go with a float and double. If you are planning to handle a full numbers, okay. So these are the different numbers category you have: byte, short, int, long, float, and double. So these many categories you have to handle the numbers. As I told you, these two are meant for the decimal numbers. What is the decimal number? 1.0, 21.545. So something, some decimal numbers if you are planning to deal with, then you have to use this float and double. If you are planning to use a whole number, then any of these four types you can use. Usually, when you see any coding, online coding, or from your existing team members, people they won't use this byte and short. I don't know why, but most of them didn't use. They will use this int and long only. If it is a number, immediately they will go for a int only. So I will start with that, but I will tell you the best practices also. So to convert my statement into actual code, this is what I have to do. What? Int shoe size equal to 10. Similarly, to convert this shoe color into a proper variable declaration and a proper statement, it is a word. So in English verbal we call it as word, but in Java and some other programming language also, what we will do, we will call it a string. So string is nothing but a series of characters, and to represent the string you have to use a double quotes around them, then only the statement will work. Now, same thing for this shoe brand also. This is some random name I've used, but it's a word. So obviously, I have to enclose that inside the. So these are the things. Now I'm taking this, cutting this particular line, and I'm putting under the actual coding. Now you can see we have done our first level of coding, and you can see the error messages also. It is just one, it's not error, just a warning or a thing to us, because I was using capital letters and small letters together in my variable declaration. That's why it was showing like this. Now you can see I have done my very first variable declaration. So this is my variable name called shoe size, and the type of the data which I'm handling, it's a number, and so I specified it as integer. As it is a number, I'm not using any double quotes here. Similarly, for a shoe color, it is a word. It's a sequence of character. So I was using something called string here. String is a separate data type itself, and it is enclosed with a double quote. So whenever you see a string, you have to enclose that with a double quotes. For example, I have one more character called one more data type called character. So what we will be doing is, say for example, I have a variable called do you want a delivery, is delivery needed, or is available. Okay, so I'm taking a variable call is available. So is available means anything can happen, yes or no. Is a product is available, yes or no. So in that cases, what we can do is, Y stands for yes. Say I'm taking, usually YES will come, no will come. So just for our discussion, I'm taking just to Y. So if you are dealing with a data of only one character, then you don't need to specify that as a string. Though it is an alphabet, a series of alphabet means it is string, I told you. So you may think that, why can't I use a string here? Because it is only one character, so I'm specifying it as char. So now only I'm going to explain you why I'm going for char, why I'm going for this string, why not I use both the things together. So now only the memory optimization come into picture. So now I'm going to show you the actual memory utilization of these things, and the best practice also we will discuss. If you look at this, I've told these are the types you can use it for your numbers, and these two you can use it for the decimal number, and char means character, and string is not at all listed here. I will come to the point later why string is not listed, because in this slide we are covering only the primitive data type. Okay, string is a different format. It is I'll be discussing in a separate topic itself. It's very important thing in Java, so I'm covering it separately. For now we are discussing only the primitive data types. So what are these primitive data types? In your interview questions, if they may play with this. Okay, the other name for this is literals also. They will ask you, do you know the integer literal? Do you know the byte literal and all? You should not think it is different. It is exactly same. They are talking about the data types only. So let's discuss these four first: byte, short, int, and long. So when I can go for byte, when I can go for short, when I can go for int and long. Very basic and simple thing is, it depends upon the data which you are going to deal with. In our case, we are dealing with the shoe size. You know the size of the shoe. It won't go beyond 127. It is not realistically possible, right? A person with a shoe size of 128 and all. So how this 128 and 124 and all decide is, byte is nothing but, I told you, everything is zeros and ones in the machine language. So 1 byte equal to 8 bit. So this and all we have studied in your college and even your school days. It is all covered nowadays. So 1 byte is equal to 8 bytes. So the byte data type is used to, will use a memory thing of 1 byte only. It will be occupying a memory of 1 byte only. So 1 byte means, I told, like 8 bits. So everything is binaries here of 2 power of 8. It's a mathematical calculation. 2 power of 8, when you do it, this is what the number you will get it. And this is dealing with both positive and negative number. So your answer will be 2 power of 8 is 256. So the 256, it is not taking from 0 to 256. It is minus 128 to plus 127, because in middle you will have something called 0, right? So minus 128 to plus 127. If you sum up these together, you will get an answer of 256, which is equal to 1 byte. So 1 byte equal to 2 power of 8, and 2 power of 8 is equal to 256, and the 256, it is for the both positive and negative number, so it is distributed like half of them for the negative number, half of them for the positive number. I think I conveyed this properly. This is a pure mathematical calculation. If you have any doubt, do let me know. I will write and show also. Okay. Next is your short. When you are dealing with any data which will go beyond 127, we know shoe size won't go beyond 127, so we can very well define. In my example, I used int, right? Int shoe size equal to 9. Instead of that, I can very well use byte shoe size equal to 9. It won't create any issue at all because it is just number 9. It is within the range of the byte data type, so it won't do any problem at all. If, for example, you are dealing with some number which is more than 127, but it is less than 32,767. Why this number has come? It's again same thing. Short will occupy a memory of 2 bytes. 2 bytes means it's like 16 bits. 2 power of 16 is, this is a number. 64,000 some number will come. So this is the actual thing, you will get it. 2 power of 16. So it is distributed between your negative and positive number, and it is doing like this. If you are planning to deal with a number which will be more than 32,767 means it is good idea to go with integer. Why? Because integer will have something called 4 bytes. So 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So 4 byte equal to 4 into 8, that equal to 32. So 2 power of, this is the value we can accommodate, like 2 power of minus 2 power, I told right, it will negative numbers because both we call it as signed and unsigned integer. Signed and unsigned means negative number and also positive number. It can accommodate minus 64 also, and it can accommodate plus 64 also. The difference between the float, decimal and int is, float and decimal is a decimal point number 2.31, 2.34, that is different. But here what we are talking, negative number and positive number. So these things it can accommodate. Similarly for a long, it is like 8 bytes. So 8 bytes means 8 into 8 range. So 2 power of 63, that level it can accommodate. So this is purely a mathematical calculation. Why we are telling this is, memory utilization is really very important. Anyhow in Java we have garbage collection, some additional inbuilt memory managements are all available, I agree. But it's our responsibility also to work on a proper memory management. Otherwise, you may get into a chance that your application will be crashed within 1 hour or 2 hour of your server. When you bring up the server within 1 or 2 hours, there is a chance that it may crash the server. Your application may crash the server itself because of the memory utilization, performance issue. Many things can happen. So you should be very careful enough when you are selecting the data type. And one important thing what I want to convey here is, selecting the data type is not only like selecting the lower range, because when you are going to deal with some other high range numbers also, we should be very careful on that. I'll be covering on the typecasting. Okay, so far I have covered this byte, short, int and long. Float means, like if you're planning with a decimal number, again if you are dealing with till 7 decimal points, that is 23.1234567, till that point you can go for float. If it is more than that, you can go for the double. Boolean means you know very well that your answers will be true or false. Then you can very well go for this Boolean. I will show everything, just I'm discussing it. I'll be showing in coding also. Character I already showed, it will occupy 2 bytes, but single character only it will hold. Now I'm going back to our editor, and I'll be showing you what are the different types of there and how I can handle it. So now I told, here I can very well use byte. I don't need a int at all.
So
So byte
UV, I have
means,
a
yes.
yes. So here we know the shoe size will be not more than 127. So maybe some of the cases we don't know how much it go beyond, like maybe 127 plus or something. We don't know the maximum size. So in that case, which will be the best option to choose? We just know it will be in kind of integer.
Good question, Ranjit. So that's why most of the developers are going with the int data type, because it is giving you till the 32,000 some 700 and some values, right? So if you're
Mhm.
not really particular, so there are two things. The software life cycle is there, right? So we have to
Mhm.
follow the software life cycle. The best practice is we should do a proper designing before getting into a development. When you do a design itself, these and all are already documented. You will have something called SRS document, right? There you will discuss everything and you will say that these are the inputs I will get, because core Java means it's a backend. So if you are getting any data, means there are two ways. One is getting the data from database, because you are in the middle between the database and from the UI. So UI only will give me the data. So in my example, I was telling you, in UI itself, it is giving me an option to select the size. Size charts would be there. So from that size only, I'll be picking some number, and that number will be passed to the backend. So that is the possibility number one. If UI itself, I have that range between this 6 to 12 or 13, means how I'll get a data beyond that? There is no possibility, right? So I can very well go for the byte data range. But there are some cases it will be a free text box. I hope you know what is text box and all. If you don't know, I will
Right.
show it also. Okay,
Yes, yes, I
there
know.
will be some, yeah, so there will be some free space kind of thing where we will go and type our own thing. Okay, in that case alone, the best practice is there are something called validation. There are some inbuilt validations are available in the modern frameworks in your Angular or React JS, whatever you are doing. There are some validations are available. It is UI developer responsibility to do the UI validation before passing to the backend, because it is all design, it is already discussed in the design phase itself. This particular value means it should be between these two, this range only. Then they have to do validation. If it is like open question, nobody knows it, then we can go for some values called this integer or the long. So if you don't know anything, then you can go for the long variable type itself. But if you know approximately, you can guess, means you can go for integer or long, you can take a call. But usually in the real time, what we will do is we will discuss everything in the initial design phase itself, and we will write one document before doing a development. A developer will has to write a document. These are the things I'm going to do, and that document needs to be reviewed and signed off by the tech leads. Once it is all
Oh,
that, this is how the process is. Okay, the real time process I'm sharing. For the training purpose, I'm saying you can very well go for the int and long, depend upon the type of data you are dealing with. But the good practice is discuss in the design phase, inform that this to the UI developer that it should accept only this range of data. Otherwise, it will create a problem in the UI layer itself. You have shown, you have seen some validations, right? When you type some email address or something in the text box, it will show that this character is not accepted, ampersand is not accepted, at is not accepted. You would have seen some validations in UI. Similar kind of validation will be added for the number validation also. Okay. By default, to
okay.
answer your question, we can go for int
Yes,
or long, but the best practice is it's a collaboration of UI and backend developer.
sure. Thank you.
Next is your float and double. I told that ranges, and now the byte I have told. For now, I'm keeping the strings aside. I'll cover it later. This example I've taken for character, right? The same example I can use it for Boolean also. Boolean I told either yes or no. So say for example, instead of character, I'm defining this as is available. So here I cannot give any number as 1, 2, 3. It will throw me an error, because I will mouse over here. You itself can read what is the error it is giving. You can see it is Boolean. The record type is Boolean, but I have passed something called integer, some number I have passed it. So change the variable type. It is telling me that you have to either, if your data is a number, then you have to change this type of the data as integer, long, or whatever it is acceptable, you can do it, or change the data. So now I'm going to add something called yes. So again, you can see it is throwing me error. So what it will accept? It will accept something called is available. Is a particular product is available, it I have to either go for a true or a false. Okay, otherwise it will throw me a error. So boolean type means by default this or that, true or false. I cannot use my own naming convention, I cannot use my own things. Here you would have seen the error message it showed when I used why, what has happened. You itself can see what was the error it was showing. When I used false with a different case, what has happened? When false with a lower case, what has happened? Because this is the exact match I have to use for the boolean data type, and that we can use it further. So this is one, and character we have discussed. And coming back to this byte variable, when I select this one, I should be very cautious, otherwise it will throw me error. If I'm planning to add a number beyond that limit, here also you can see some error. It is saying that record is byte, but you are using some number integer. Why it is saying integer? Because it is beyond the number range the byte can hold. So it is telling me change that type of the data. So likewise we can change. If you want to store more range, then go for the int or long. So this is how we have to select for the data type. So now what we are going to see here is integer means we usually think that it will accommodate only the numbers, but integers means it can accommodate other things also. So for example, the say like shoe price I'm taking, so this itself an integer. This might be a tricky question when you're attending any interview debugging session. There may be a chance they will give you something like this and say whether this particular code will run or not. Okay, I have entered something like this. So integer means obviously it's a number. It will accommodate only a number. But if you look at my screen, what I have added? 0xa. But when you observed it, it is not at all showing any error. Why it is not showing any error? Any guess? Okay, let me answer. So here, if you look at this, we all very well know integer meant for handling a number data only. But here I have put something called a, x and all. We'll see the other things. Int shoe size. Here also let me put the same thing and see what is happening. If I put a, what is happening? It is saying that it is not acceptable. Okay, a is not something I can use, and I'm entering with single quotes to make it as a character. So it is saying some value. Why it is happening? Let's discuss that. For me, these are all alphabets. For the machine, these are all the hexadecimal number. 0xa means it is corresponding to some hexadecimal number. It will, I hope you all know this ASCII characters and all, right? Every character in my keyboard has the equivalent zeros and ones. So machine, what it will do? It will convert this alphabet A into some ASCII key values. That ASCII key value will be saved in the shoe size, and that is the value I'll be seeing later. So let me print that and show you that. I'm just printing the value of shoe size. And to print something, plus is the one. So this is the text. So far I was showing only the printing the text. So plus sign is a concatenation operator. So operators I'll be covering later. For now, just think that if I want to merge any two things in my print statement, I'll be using the plus symbol. So it's a concatenation operator. So here I'm going to say shoe size. If I do like this, what it will do? It will print me the size of the shoe. So what is the shoe size variable it is holding? I put something called A. Let me see what is the value it is showing me once I execute the program. It is compiling now. If you look at this, the shoe size is showing as 65. Why it is showing 65? I put something called A, right? Let me show that also. Why it is showing the shoe size as 65. It's very simple. You itself can open your browser and type ASCII table. I'm going to do that only. I'm opening my browser. I'll share the browser
It's
now. I'll unshare
it's
this
a,
editor.
it's ASCII of A, right?
Yes, you are right. So the straightforward is for capital A it is different, for small a it is different. I'm changing the same thing to small a and I am running my program. Let me put some space or semicolon so that it will change it different. Okay, now I'm executing. Previously I put capital A, now I'm putting small a. Now you can see the values are different. So it is taking the ASCII value. So these are all ASCII tables. So every letter, every character in your keyboard has some ASCII value, and that is the one will be saved in your. So it's an integer, so it can accommodate only the integer value. Though you specified like a character, it won't accept that as a character at all. Coming back to this, okay. So here I put something called 0xa. Let me print this also and see. I'm printing the value of shoe price. So here I have more than one character. It is not something called A or B something. I put something called 0xa. So 0xa, what is the value it is printing? Let's see that too. It is the value 10. How come this value 10 is coming? The ASCII value of X is different, the ASCII value of A is different, and 0 is different. How come I got 10? A very simple thing is you would have seen something called X in the middle, right? 0x. Whenever I give something called 0x, it means that it will take the next letter as the hexadecimal value. This is again your mathematical related aspect, 2 power of 16. Okay, so it will do the hexadecimal thing and it will save the hexadecimal value. So you should not get confused in your debugging session when they give some values like this and say whether this code will work or not. You can easily say that it will work because the 0x stands for the hexadecimal. It is giving instruction to the machine that hey, you are going to deal with the hexadecimal value. So the hexadecimal value of a is 10, so that value will be saved here. Not only hexadecimal value, if you are planning to store a binary value, if you are planning to store a octal value, so everything will be saved. So this binary, octal and all I'm not going to cover because this is purely your max thing you have studied in your school days. You can very well refer an online source. So hexadecimal means 2 power of 16, octal means 2 power of 8, binary, sorry, I told 16 power of, okay, hexadecimal means 16 power of some number, and octal means 8 power of some number, and binary means 2 power of some number. So likewise you will be dealing with this thing. So why I'm saying this, if you have a number, you have to continuously divide that number with 16. Then what is output? That is out data you are going to get. And if you have some numbers called 10 or 20, you will be continuously dividing that number with 8. What is the remainder? What is the quotient? That will frame some numbers like 101, 110. Some numbers will come. Similarly, if you want the binary equivalent of 10, so I will show that quickly instead of voice overing it. So here you can see binary value, binary to hexadecimal, hexadecimal to binary. So something we can do it here. So some conversions would be there. So what I'm going to show today is octal to decimal. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example. So everything is online source. You itself can cross check your answer. I'm going to enter one octal value. See, 10 I can do. 10 means I should get an answer of 0. Okay, this is what I'm going to check it. Not only octal, so here you can use other conversions also. The previous example I've shown, right? 0xa. So likewise, you can have the hexadecimal to a decimal. So whatever I'm getting in my screen is the uh, getting is a decimal equivalent of what is the value I'm getting. Okay, so now I'm going back to the screen for the octal one. So in the interest of time, I will show this octal. Binaries would be equivalent only. So here what I'm going to do is 010. I've mentioned, right? The same thing I'm going to run it now and see what is the value I'm going to get it in the shoe price tag. I've shown you in the online what is the value it was showing for this 010. The equivalent of this octal is 8. So the same thing I'm getting. So for you, you might be thinking 010, some 10 or some round of value will come, but actually speaking, the first digit, it is going to tell me whether it is my octal value or hexadecimal value or a binary value. Based upon that, my output will change. For example, if I want the binary to decimal conversion, then I can go with this B. So whenever this 0B it sees, then it's an instruction to the machine that hey, you are going to deal with the binary number. This is not the regular number, this is a binary number. When I run it, so you itself can check it online. What is the binary to decimal conversion for this 0101? So when you run it, it will give me my binary to decimal equivalent, that is number 5. So how I got this number 5? The same thing, divide this 5 by the 2, then you know the quotient and you know the remainder, that will be equivalent to 101. So we are not stepping into the binary to decimal conversion or this octal to decimal conversion and all, because it is all our school days mathematical formula. What we are seeing in Java is you can store the binary data, you can store the octal data or the hexadecimal data in the Java program. That's what we are trying to convey here. Similarly, I've told that you can use a float numbers, right? If you are planning to deal with some float numbers like decimal number, how can I do? We all very well know, right? I'll take some other thing. We all very well know mathematical formulas that studied pi r square, 2 pi r. So some circles, circumference and all you have studied. There the pi will come and the pi will be equal to 22 by 7, that is equal to 3.14 something. So that value, for example, I have to store in my code pi equal to the actual values 3.14 something like that will come, some random number will come 15. Okay, so for this point numbers, what I have to do, I have to use a float. I cannot use a integer. So when I giving a float, okay, it is throwing me a error. Hey, you are dealing with this like provided is double. Why? I already told the range, how much it can accommodate. So now I'm saying it is double and it is accepting. Instead of doing all those things with the digits and other things, what I'm going to do here is You can represent the same thing in a different way also. Remove this and put the exponential format like this. This is also will work. If I print it, you can see, hey, instead of 3.14, you gave something like this. This is your exponential representation. Why I'm telling this? Just for your interview cracking, I'm telling this. Real time,
Uh,
it's up to you how you do it. Okay.
UV, is this pi is a predefined variable in Java? Because if I give 3.14, how it understood that this it is more than 7 decimal value?
I put 3.14. I put one period. 3.1415, some number I put it. That's why it told that you are using some other variable. I typed it.
Yes, you have typed 3.1415. That is four decimal after four digit decimal, right?
Right.
And you have given float. So float will take till 7, right?
Yes. I'll show you that.
Mhm.
3.1415. I put right and it showed me
Right.
error also.
But
Solve
float
the
will take till
problem.
7,
Yes, yes. I have to use something at the end to mention it as float or long. Okay. So as per this representation, it will take till 7 decimal points.
right? Right. So you have given here if, right? 3.1415 if. Then it took it right.
Yes.
Okay.
I have to put what I'm trying to say here is I should not just use a float. I have to use a keyword called f at the end. Unlike the integer or long, to specify that as float, I have to use a capital F at the end. Here I'm
Okay.
not changing. Can you see the error is gone?
Hmm.
It is accepting the float only. Okay.
Okay.
Same number I
Okay.
put, but I have to put it something called f at the end. This is not only for float, even for long. If I have to see the same number is here, for example, I'm
Hmm.
using some long range of number, for example, it will throw some error and I'm changing that as long, still the error will come. How I can rectify? I have to put some L at the end. Then only it will say that no, it is a, see, can you see? The error is gone if I put the L at the end. The same thing applies for the float also. I have to put one capital F at the end. Then only it will accept. It is not the predefined one in Java.
Okay. So is this the case only with long and float, or other variable also need to put some keyword at the last?
These two things only.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. And next thing is this pi, I was referring with some numbers, right? So 3.14. Instead of avoiding like this F and other things, if you want to avoid, what you can do is e power of 0.5. You can put like this also. Okay. Now this numbers, this dots and all, some people will feel that it is creating some challenges. So in that cases, expected semicolon. Okay, here I did it. So now I put like this e power of 0.5. So it is taking 5 digits before and it is saying that like this point number is coming. So likewise, you can give how many digits you can pass it to print. Here I didn't give any dots, but when I print it, it is giving me a dot. So you can change how many decimal points I can move front, back and other things, and I can add the data here. So without giving the dots here, like this also you can see some numbers. And if you see this, it means it is a float number and it is going to use the exponential. That is, it is going to shift 4 digits here. I put like minus 0.4, right? So it is going to shift 1, 2, 3, 4 digits, and here it is going to keep one dot. So that's what has happened here. Okay, now we have 5 more minutes, but let me start the next topic. Let's see how I can complete. Otherwise, we will continue in the next session on Monday. So, next topic is typecasting. So far, I was telling about these things, right? This shoe size, hint, long, everything I was discussing. Say, for example, I have a variable called same thing, size. Instead of shoe size, I'll type it as size. Size equal to 5. Okay, and we all very well know the size will occupy.
You are not audible.
Instead of saying that new size equal to 10 or 20, something like that, I'm going to use a variable itself to assign the value to the new size. So what I'm going to do here is new size equal to size. Okay, I'm doing like this, and I'm going to print it also. I'm running it now. So this is the different ways of declaring and assigning values to your variable. Either you can declare a variable and assign the variable in the single line itself, or declare the variable alone, and in the next line you can add something called new size equal to 2. So I can split my variable declaration in two lines, or use some other variable to assign the value, like I did it in line number 11. So these are the different ways we can handle a variable. But if you look at this, I'll run this code again. You can see there is a variable called new size, and I assigned a value of 2. So the when I print it, what it will give? I will change the print statement. I will add one more print statement here. In line number 11, I will add one print statement, and line number 13, I have one print statement. So line number 11, it is printing 2 because I have assigned a value of 2, but in int. So here what I'm doing in this particular line alone, in the 4 byte of data, so new size is a integer data type, right? So what, so in the 4 bytes of data, I am going to push 1 byte data, that is called this size variable. That is acceptable because you think about that, in a car, okay, it is a 5-seater car, and you are making two person, okay, one driver and one more person. Can they fit in or not? They can very well sit. There won't be any problem at all because it can accommodate 5 people, but I'm making only 2 people to sit. Obviously they can sit very comfortably there. So whether I'm assigning the values of same data type or different data type, I'm not getting any problem in my execution, and it is working fine. For example, I'm swapping the data type. For example, I'm making this as integer and I'm making this as byte. Immediately when I change, can you see some error is happening? Because what I'm doing here, in 1 byte data, I am pushing 4 bytes of data information, which is nothing but in a two-wheeler, I'm making 5 or 6 people to sit. This is not acceptable. This is creating some issue for me. So it is saying that it is byte, the new size is byte, but you are pushing a integer data type and it is creating a problem. But still I want this 4 people to travel or 5 people to travel in that particular thing. How can I do? So here typecasting come into picture. That is, temporarily I am converting this variable into byte and I am allowing into this. Temporarily I am saying this, the size is not integer anymore. I am temporarily typecasting. That is just for a small thing like 5 people. I told in a two-wheeler you cannot sit. But what I'm making, one elder and 4 children are I'm making to sit. That itself is a challenging, but still, for example, I'm saying small kids are there. Only one person, elder person, is driving. Remaining 4 kids are all accommodating with the driver. So it is somewhat possible. Similar thing here. What we are doing, the integer data type. I'm temporarily.
You are not audible.
Sorry, let me repeat. I think this last point only, right? So in the
Yeah.
int data type I was specifying 200, and in this 200, when I run this code, there is no error at all in my code, but I got an output of 56. Why it is happening? I specify 200 and the 200 only with typecasting and assigned to a byte, that is new size, and I'm printing it. Why I got this? This is the challenge in that typecasting. The previous example, that is I told, right, two members are sitting in a 5-seater car. That is, in the integer data type I'm pushing a byte means it is okay. There is no problem. There is no problem with the data. There is no problem at the compilation and all. That is called implicit typecasting, because you are assigning a small number into a big number, so there is no problem. But the second case, what we are seeing, assigning a bigger number into a smaller one. Bigger number means I'm talking about the byte ranges only, not the data byte ranges. So that is called explicit, because I have to explicitly say that, hey, do the conversion before assigning the data. So that is called explicit typecasting. The drawback of explicit typecasting is, unless and until you are dealing with the range of the lower data type, in our case byte is the lowest one, right, compared to the integer one. Unless and until if my data is within the range of the byte, I won't get any problem. We know the range of byte, right? It is 127. The positive number is that 120 minus 127 to 128. That range only I can handle. If I go beyond that one, then it will create some issue. You can't observe that at the compilation stage. Only at the runtime you can see some junk value like this. So we should be very cautious when you are selecting the data type. And if there are any issue, please don't go for the typecasting without analyzing the expected data. Okay. So with this, I'm ending today's session. Any doubt in this so far?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No,
We'll
Ivy. Yeah.
meet again. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.